Hey guys, so I promised you a video on emotional eating, and here it is. In this video I wanted to discuss a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to discuss what an emotional eater is, or rather who an emotional eater is. I want to discuss possible triggers, and then I want to talk about ways to combat emotional eating. So first of all, let me just go ahead and say, hi, my name is Michaela. I go by Kyla, and I am an emotional eater. The experiences that I'm going to give you are pretty much tried and true. Like, this has happened to me before. So, a good definition of an emotional eater would be if you've ever had times when you've been sitting there eating and you realize about halfway through the meal or through the snack or through the box of whatever it is you're eating, you realize, my goodness, this isn't even satisfying me. I don't even know why I'm eating this. This isn't filling the void of whatever it is. I'm not eating because I'm hungry. I'm not eating because I'm, trying to give myself energy here. I'm simply eating and it's not helping anything. We are supposed to eat every 3 hours, so if you've ever found yourself eating more often than every 3 hours, if you have had your breakfast and you've had your mid-morning snack and then all of a sudden you're grabbing for goldfish or you're grabbing for whatever, I mean really whatever, you could pretty much pin yourself as an emotional eater. Along with that, mindless eating is like a lot of times we eat out of what was the word I was looking for? Almost because everyone else is doing it. I mean, does that make sense? Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, okay, I'm going to book club tonight, or I'm going to go out to dinner, or, I'm going a place and I know I've already eaten. I am not hungry. I can do this. I'm not going to sit and eat with everyone else. And then you get there and you're like, oh, everybody else is doing it. I'm just going to eat. It's really not that big of a deal. That happens. That's an emotional eater. So like in the first situation where the food just wasn't even satisfying you, maybe that was because you were lonely. Maybe it was because you were bored. I guess this kind of goes into some of the different triggers. For example, people eat all the time because they're alone. They're alone and it makes them bored, and so they'll sit there and eat. Or they're alone and it makes them sad and they'll eat. Or they're not alone. Maybe they're around people that aren't nice to them, and so then they eat for that reason. That's not like one of the reasons why I've emotionally eaten, but out of stress, out of fear of the unknown. I know financial stress. I've emotionally eaten over financial stress before. There are, another reason why people will emotionally eat is out of habit. My husband and I were talking about this the other night, like, every time we sit down at the end of the day, we just automatically are wondering what our snack is going to be. And we've done really well as of late to have that snack be like grapefruit or grapes or something of that nature, but there was a good portion of our life where it would be like, okay, I'll head to Walgreens and I'll go get the snacks, or I'll make the cookies or whatever it is. We just had a bunch of different snacks. So that was just a habit. We weren't hungry. We weren't even thinking about snacks until we sat down after we got all those kids in bed, and then we sat down and we're like, okay, what are we going to eat? It's just a habit. There is, though, a biological reason that we emotionally eat. Whenever our body is in a stressful situation, and stress can be caused for a lot of different reasons. It's not because we are actually like in a, it's not like we have a deadline or we have a whatever. Like, being alone is stressful. Being around a lot of people is stressful. Being happy, well, no, that's not stressful. But anyway, being sad is stressful. And when our body feels stressed for whatever reason, it releases the hormone cortisol. And that hormone makes us want sugary foods, carby foods. I just made that a word. Carb-like foods and fatty foods. It gives us that desire to eat those things. And so there's a reason. It's not just because you're out of control, but it is because there is a biological reason for that as well. Sometimes people emotionally eat just to tune out of whatever situation they're in. I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 4. And so there have been moments during summer vacation when I've got all my kids home where I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to eat, and then I just start eating. And it's not even a conscious decision that I'm making, but I realize that I'm doing these things to kind of tune out and to pretend like I'm not really where I'm at. That's horrible. I love my kids, if you're ever watching this. A lot of times we emotionally eat. I guess this is kind of a happy reason. Because we're thinking of our mom, or like a memory. There's a memory like, oh, remember that one time that I ate crab legs? I don't even know. Okay, so let's go to the easy one, like cookies. Remember that time that mom would always make cookies and would wake up and we'd have pancakes, or we'd come home from school and there'd be cookies. And so I just want to make those so that I have that feeling again. That's an emotional eating. We all know that we're emotionally eating at times. We know what that is. So what you really want to get to is how to prevent this, right? Well, the best way to prevent emotional eating is to know when you're doing it, to find out when your triggers are. And the best way to do that is to keep some sort of journal. So for a day or so, a day or two, a week, keep a journal. Just write down what you're eating, what time you're eating it at, what your circumstance is, if you're alone, if you're at work, if you're stressed out over a deadline. And then also take a second to write down your level of hungriness. Were you at a 7? Was your stomach growling because you were at a 10? Then yeah, you were legitimately hungry. But if it was a 2 or 3, then maybe you could pinpoint that as an emotional, as a moment of emotional eating. After you've had that journal entry, you can look back and see what your triggers are. Like for me, I could always look back and be like, okay, 8:30, there's a trigger. We're sitting down to watch TV. The kids are in bed. There's a trigger. And so what do you do about it? Once you are aware of these triggers, then it's up to you to break these triggers. So if I know that every time I sit down to watch TV, I'm going to reach for some sort of snack, only have healthy snacks available. Plan on eating a snack, but have it be something healthy. So like that's what my husband and I have done. We've changed our, Walgreens Swedish fish runs in for grapefruit. That's something we eat every single night. We love grapefruit. There is a benefit to emotional eating. Let me explain. Yes, you're probably going to become overweight from doing it, so there are a lot of downsides to emotional eating as well. But as soon as we eat these comfort foods, it gives us like this level of happiness, maybe for 10 minutes. Maybe, we eat that chocolate and suddenly we can breathe, we're not stressed out. I mean, it does help for a minute. Obviously, it's not the answer. So what we need to do is replace the benefit of emotional eating. So if we could say that the benefit of emotional eating is like a reduction of stress, then we need to be able to reduce our stress without using food. So for example, deep breathing is a really good exercise because it tricks your body into being calm. So, if you take a few seconds just to really take some deep breaths in and then release, do that a few times, it will calm your heart rate, because I know how it gets. Like your heart rate gets crazy and now you want to eat. All you want to do is eat whatever it is that's in your kitchen, which by the way, just throw it away. I mean, seriously, why even let it be a temptation? But anyway, that's a whole other video. Go for a walk. That's not always an option, but sometimes it is. Toss your kids in a stroller, or, grab your wife and say, hey, we're headed out for a walk because I'm ready to, tear into our refrigerator right now or something. You can do massages. For example, just sit there and rub your hand, try to release the stress. You can use a tennis ball to kind of like do the same thing in the palm of your hand or on the bottom of your foot, just to release that stress. Go into a quiet room for a few minutes and just deep breathe. But the thing is, you've got to be aware of what those triggers are so that when you get to that point, you're like, okay, I've got this. Check into this challenge group, you guys. That's what this is here for. When things start to get really crazy, type it out. Be like, listen, Michaela, I'm losing it. Melissa, I need your help. Craig, please. Check in. We're totally there for you. That's the whole point. Praying, if you do that. Meditating, yoga, deep breathing, journaling, write in a journal. Check in with this group. Reading, if that calms you down, or just, grabbing the kids and jumping on the trampoline, getting out of the kitchen, walking out of the house, locking yourself out if you have to. Especially at the beginning, it's going to be a lot harder, but you guys can totally do this. Now, we talked about a couple of different things, but I think one of the most important things we need to talk about is practicing, okay? So if I told you I was going to teach you how to swim today, I would not toss you into rough waters. I might toss you into the deep end. I mean, I know that's how my dad taught me how to swim, but I wouldn't toss you into a raging river. And that's got to be the same thing with emotional eating. Once you get to the point where things are so stressful, it's hard to reel yourself back in and start massaging your hand. At that point, you've already lost it. However, if you practice these things during the day when you're in, calm waters, in, the shallow end of the pool, so to speak, when you are not stressed, if you just take some time to practice deep breathing, or take some time to write in your journal, or do different things like that, when you practice, that will give you the tool that you need so that when things do start to get really crazy and emotionally charged, you can be like, I got this. Take some deep breaths and refocus yourself and do this, because the thing is, this isn't easy, but it gets so much easier and it gets so much better, and then suddenly food isn't attached quite so much to emotions. We just had my son's birthday party today, and I was able to sit there and let him celebrate and look at the food or the cake or the whatever we had and just be like, you know what? It's cool. This is his celebration. I'll let him sit there and eat it. He's totally happy. I had a bite. It wasn't like I had to sit there and devour it, And then, I don't know, it just gets so much easier, and I just really want to grab you guys and just say, listen, it gets easier, I promise. Pinpoint what your triggers are, though. Once you've pinpointed what these triggers really, really are, what time of the day you're eating, what the situation is that you're in, you can really combat this. I know you can do it. Check in with this group. Check in with me. We'll all totally be there. If you have any questions about this, feel free to ask, and we'll, do the best to answer your questions or figure it out for you. But we've got this. We're totally in this together. I think that's from High School Musical. We're all in this together. But for real, we are. So good luck. The challenge starts in a couple more days. So good luck.